Morning, guys. This nitwit guy from the Department of Justice ticked me off. Missouri governor can't void federal gun laws. Well, really, he doesn't need to. The federal government never had the authority or the power vested in them from the Constitution to pass any firearm laws. I told you guys before. Go look at the preamble to the Bill of Rights, which is part of the Constitution, which is a law of the land, supreme law of the land. It says, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's part of the Constitution. That means your firearms, the right to keep and bear firearms, is to be free from any interference from the federal government. Period. Accordingly, the federal government is nowhere in the Constitution granted the authority to abridge, restrict, or infringe in any fashion whatsoever guns or ammunition. All restrictive laws made by Congress, all regulations made by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms are unconstitutional because they are outside the scope of powers granted to Congress and to the executive branch by our Constitution. Restriction of arms and ammunition is not one of the enumerated powers delegated to Congress or to the executive branch. Well, then they'll try to use this stuff. Oh, well, you know, the General Welfare Clause. Well, I'm sorry. You look it up. What does welfare mean? It's exemption from any unusual evil or calamity, the enjoyment of peace and prosperity, or the ordinary blessings of society and civil government. It has nothing to do with handouts, public relief, or anything that the Fed's willing to do what they think is a good idea. It's not there. In the Interstate Commerce Clause, people, that was put in, and that was, the Commerce Clause was put in place. Look at Federalist number 22 and Federalist number 42. It says, the primary purpose of the clause was to prohibit the states from imposing taxes and tolls on merchandise as it transported through the states for the purpose of buying and selling. And then they'll say, well, they're necessary and proper. No. That clause only permits the execution of powers already delegated and enumerated in the Constitution. No additional substantial powers were granted by the clause. Period. One of the things that people don't understand the Constitution because they never read it, and then you got judges that are saying that they're constitutional lawyers, but they've never studied the Constitution. When they went to school, they only studied what other judges said about the Constitution, thus making the judge the law and not the Constitution. You know, the framers of the Constitution were born and brought up in an atmosphere of common law and thought and spoke its vocabulary. That's why even a 10-year-old kid can understand what's in the Constitution. The language of the Constitution cannot be interpreted safely except by reference to the common law and by the British institutions as they were when this instrument was framed and adopted. On every question of construction, let us carry ourselves back to the time when the Constitution was adopted, recollect the spirit manifested in the debates, and instead of trying to what meaning can be squeezed out of the text or invented against it, conform to the probable one which it was passed. They're trying to make everything liberal. It's not, this thing is solid. It's not something, it's not a living, breathing thing. This thing is a contract between the people of the United States and the United States government. And if the people in the government don't follow the Constitution, we have the right to abolish them. Another thing, people, the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any statute to be valid must be in agreement. It is impossible for a law which violates the Constitution to be valid. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Marbury versus Madison. And get this, now we have rights, gun rights, Second Amendment, where rights are secured by the Constitution, and the Constitution is involved. There can be no rulemaking or legislation which would arbitrate them. Any unconstitutional act is not a law. It confers no rights, it imposes no duty, affords no protection, it creates no office. It is in legal contemplation as inoperable as it had been in past. The general rule is that unconstitutional statute, though having the form and the name of law, is in reality no law. It is wholly void and ineffective for any purpose, since unconstitutionally dates back from the time of its enactment, not merely from the date of the decision so branding it. No one is bound to obey an unconstitutional law, and no courts are bound to enforce it. Now, they passed the 1968 gun law, the federal gun law, after Kennedy was killed. Oh, we got to stop the flow of guns. Oh, no, the Constitution says you can't do that. Now, did they try to do that back when Abe Lincoln was shot, assassinated? No. They didn't pass any laws after that because they couldn't. Just as today, they cannot pass firearm laws. Get it through your head. They never had that authority under the Constitution. There's nothing in the enumerated powers that give Congress the authority to mess around with your firearms or your ammo. All those laws they wrote, all the gun laws that they wrote, null and void. I don't care if it's domestic violence. I don't care if it's the Federal Firearm Act of 68. I don't care what it is. Anything that has to do that restricts your firearms is null and void. Get that through your head. This kind of stuff, people, needs to get out so the rest of the country understands it. That's what your Constitution says. The Justice Department is warning Missouri officials the state can't ignore federal gun laws after the governor signed a bill last week that bans police from enforcing federal gun laws. Well, yes, he can. He signed only once. But the thing is, the federal government never had the authority in the Constitution to pass any kind of firearm law. Look it up. Look up your preamble to the Constitution, or preamble to your Bill of Rights. They added more restrictive clauses so that our forefathers are smart enough to realize that sometime somebody would try to accumulate more power. And they did that after FDR. He's the one that got in there and started passing all these gun laws. They want to restrict you. They want to control you. We are a free country, and we're free because we have the right to do what we want until we break a law. I mean, if you take a firearm and you go out and try to rob somebody, you deserve what's coming. Period. Restricting guns has never helped a doggone thing. I mean, you can put all the laws out there you want, but if somebody wants a gun or something to hurt somebody, they're going to get it. That law is not going to stop anybody. Laws don't protect anybody. It's a piece of paper. But the Constitution is why we have this country that we do today. First, they tried to take God out of our lives. By everything that mentioned God, they took away. Then they come around, they go, okay, well, we need the guns. We've got to get the guns too. Then we'll have control. We got God out of there. We'll get the guns out of there. We got the country to ourselves. Show them they're wrong. Show these son of a guns that they're wrong. And that they better, hopefully, the Supreme Court of the United States gets this right this time. They've got to put things in its place or we're going to lose this country to a bunch of communists, a bunch of socialists. People that have no stake in this country whatsoever except to destroy it, where they can be in power over you. If we really wanted another King George, we would have, voted in a king. But Congress, the federal government, has to go by the Constitution. They can't step outside the Constitution like they've been doing since 1934. Okay, guys, that's about all I can say. Good luck. Pass this around so people understand the Constitution. It's a contract. It's a legal binding contract between the people and Congress, the federal government. They can't overstep their bounds, and they have been. We've got to put them in their place, or like I said, we're going to lose this country. This country has meant a lot to the people that live here and people that even want to come here. And we're letting these nitwits destroy it. And I said nitwits because that's what they are. They pretend to know the law. At the same time, they're running rings around it. Like I said, you know, instead of trying to get what meaning they can be squeezed out of the Constitution or invented against it, conform to the probable one that happened when they passed it. These people use their words and their meanings very well. It wasn't meant to be changed. It means what it says. The Constitution means what it says. You can't twist it. You can't invent different things. You can't use a liberal interpretation because it wasn't written literal. It's a contract. Thanks for watching.